Good morning, children.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Good
Good
morning,
morning,
children.
ma'am.
Good morning. Let's recall, the definition of a quadrilateral and the definitions of special quadrilaterals, which we understood yesterday. So how do you define a quadrilateral? How do you define a quadrilateral? A quadrilateral? Yes. A quadrilateral is a figure formed by joining 4 points in a plane. A quadrilateral is a figure formed by joining 4 points in a plane, of which no 3 points are collinear. No 3 points must be collinear, and you must join the points in order. So a figure formed by joining 4 points in a plane in an order of which no 3 points are collinear is a quadrilateral, or is called a quadrilateral. Name some special quadrilaterals, children. Name some special quadrilaterals. Or name the 6 special quadrilaterals we saw yesterday. Trapezium. Yes, please pick up.
Ma'am, kite.
Kite, trapezium, kite. Then
Parallelogram.
parallelogram.
Rectangle, square.
Rectangle, square. One more. One more.
Rhombus.
Rhombus. Yes, thank you, Shreyas. Thank you. Trapezium, kite, parallelogram, rhombus, rectangle, and square. Tell me the quadrilateral. Tell me the special quadrilaterals where the diagonals are equal. Name the quadrilaterals. I don't have to always say special quadrilaterals. So even if we use the term quadrilaterals, you can name any of the 6 which we just mentioned. Name the 2 quadrilaterals in which the diagonals are equal.
Ma'am, square and rectangle.
Very good. Square and rectangle. Square and rectangle. In a square and in a rectangle, the diagonals are equal. Also, in an isosceles trapezium, the diagonals will be equal. In an isosceles trapezium, we'll see that I told you when we prove some results, from the exercise, you will learn many other properties of these quadrilaterals. Or if you've already learned the properties, you will see the justification. You will see the proof there. In an isosceles trapezium, too, the diagonals are equal. In an isosceles trapezium, diagonals are equal. In an isosceles trapezium, diagonals are equal. And in a square as well as in a rectangle, the diagonals are equal. So see, we have only 6. Okay, so let's tell them again. Trapezium, kite, parallelogram, rhombus, rectangle, square. So our answer is going to be 1 or more of these 6 quadrilaterals. Okay, name of these 4: parallelogram, rhombus, rectangle, square. Of these 4, where are the diagonals unequal? Select from these 4: parallelogram, rhombus, rectangle, square. Where are the diagonals unequal here? Are the diagonals equal in a parallelogram? Are the diagonals equal or unequal in a parallelogram?
Unequal.
Unequal. The diagonals are unequal in a parallelogram. What about a rhombus? Are the diagonals equal or unequal in a rhombus?
Unequal.
Unequal. Now, what happens when the diagonals of a parallelogram are equal? Now, tell me, in a parallelogram, are all the sides equal or only opposite sides are equal in a parallelogram?
Ma'am, opposite sides.
So you can relate this to which one? Can you relate this to rectangle or square?
Rectangle.
Rectangle. So in a parallelogram, when the diagonals are equal, it is a rectangle. In a parallelogram, diagonals are unequal. In a parallelogram, diagonals are unequal. If the diagonals are equal in a parallelogram, it is a rectangle. It is a rectangle. Similarly, in a rhombus, are the diagonals equal or unequal in a rhombus? In a rhombus, are the diagonals equal or unequal?
No, ma'am.
They're not equal. You say whether they're equal or not equal.
They're not equal.
They're not equal. In a rhombus, diagonals are not equal. So in a rhombus, all sides are equal, and you can relate this to a square where also all the sides are equal. So in a rhombus, when the diagonals are equal, it becomes a square. That is, it will have all the properties of a square. In a rhombus, diagonals are unequal, but when the diagonals are equal in a rhombus, it is a rhombus. Furthermore, it's a square because it will assume all the properties of a square. Now, children, we are not talking about trapezium and kite now. We're not talking about trapezium and kite. Tell me from the remaining four quadrilaterals, parallelogram, rhombus, rectangle, square, where do the diagonals bisect each other? Of these four, parallelogram, rhombus, rectangle, square, where do you find the diagonals bisecting each other?
Ma'am, in parallelogram, the diagonals will bisect each other.
Only in a parallelogram, right?
In all the four?
In all the four, correct. In all the four. Because we know that the diagonals of a parallelogram, bisect each other. And what are the definitions of the other quadrilaterals? A rhombus is a parallelogram. See here, a rhombus is a parallelogram. See the definition. We saw this yesterday. A rhombus is a parallelogram. A rectangle is a parallelogram. See the definition. A rectangle is a parallelogram. What about a square? A square is a parallelogram. The definition begins like that. The definition starts like that. In a parallelogram, we know that the diagonals bisect each other. In a parallelogram, we know that the diagonals bisect each other. Also, in a rhombus, rectangle, and square, the diagonals bisect each other. Because all these three are also parallelograms with more special properties. A rectangle is a parallelogram, a square is a parallelogram, a rhombus is a parallelogram. So in all these three figures also, the diagonals bisect each other. That is, one diagonal cuts the other diagonal into two equal halves. That is what is diagonals bisect each other. One diagonal bisects the other into two equal halves. So in all the four, rhombus, rectangle, square, parallelogram, everywhere the diagonals bisect each other. In which figures or quadrilaterals do the diagonals bisect the corner angles? Where do we see the diagonals bisecting the corner angles? Now here you see now,
rhombus.
In a rhombus, the diagonals bisect the corner angles, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And also in a square. In a rhombus and a square. In a rhombus and in a square, the diagonals bisect the corner angles. So like now here we see a parallelogram PQRS. Parallelogram PQRS. Diagonal PR does not bisect angle P or angle R. The diagonal PR on your screen you can see the parallelogram PQRS. You can't see the diagonal. Now just imagine the diagonal PR. The diagonal PR will not bisect angle P, will not bisect angle R. If it bisects, then it's a rhombus. In a parallelogram, when the diagonal bisects the corner angles, when both the diagonals bisect the corner angles, then it's a rhombus. So again, the diagonal PR does not bisect angle P, does not bisect angle R. Diagonal QS does not bisect angle Q, does not bisect angle S. So in a parallelogram, the diagonals do not bisect the corner angles. In a rhombus, the diagonals bisect the corner angles. In a rhombus. In a rectangle, diagonals do not bisect the corner angles. Diagonals do not bisect the corner angles. Now, for example, you know that, not for example, this is a fact. So we know that in a rectangle, this is 90 degrees. It will not be 45 here and 45 here. It will not be. If it is like that, it's a square. So we know that every corner of a rectangle is a right angle. Now, diagonal in a rectangle, in this rectangle ABCD, the diagonal AC does not bisect angle A, does not bisect angle C, which means it cannot be 45, 45 here. It cannot. It cannot be 45, 45. This is 90, so it can be like 20, 70, 30, 60, 50 and 40. Something that adds two angles that add up to 90, but cannot be 45, 45. And also, okay, let's come to that later. So in a square, yes. We know that, okay, diagonal MP, diagonal what's that? NQ. So here, children, let me do it more clearly. So in a square, you know, all the angles are fixed. There's nothing that we have to find. There's nothing that we have to find. This is the diagonal MP. This is the diagonal NQ. Now, children, in a square, the diagonals bisect at right angles. They bisect at right angles. So we know all these angles are 90 degrees. Around this point, supposing I call this O, around O, each angle measures 90 degrees. The diagonal bisects the corner angle. So it will be 45 here. We know every corner of a square is a right angle. Every corner of a square is a right angle, and the diagonal bisects the corner angles. It's bisected, so divided into two equal halves. So 45, 45. So all angles, there's nothing that you have to find in a square. In a square, every angle is already defined. Because the diagonal bisects, no, so 90 becomes 45, 45. So supposing you're given a square. Let me draw it more neatly, sorry. Is this understood, children, if I erase? Okay. Children, is everything about M and PQ understood? In the square M and PQ, all that I've marked, because the diagonals bisect the corner angles, we have 90 divided by 2, 45, 45 everywhere. And you can see in every triangle, in triangle MON, in triangle MON is a right triangle, MON, NOP, POQ, MOQ, all are right triangles. They're all right isosceles triangles. All the four are right isosceles triangles. Because you can see the angles equal 45, 45. So when two angles are equal, the sides opposite to them are also equal.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Now answer this question. Simple. Find x. If ABCD is a square, find x. If ABCD is a square, find x. First, tell me if it is possible to find with the given information.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, what's the value of x?
135.
135. Do you want to think again, Sangamitra?
No.
You're sure it's 135?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Yes, class, please think. Yes, children, measure of angle x. I asked you, is it sufficient? Meaning there is no angle mentioned there. Is it still possible to find x, or you think some information should be provided to find x? Okay, so this question is kind of deceiving. So how much is this angle? Let me just, I'm not doing anything. I'll just mark this O. I'll mark this P so that, you know, it's easy to call them. All right. So how much is this angle, children? How much is this? What's the measure of this angle?
45.
45. This is 45. We just saw this is 45. What's the measure of this angle at D? What's the angle at D? We can't wait for a long time. It's
From
90 degrees. Now, if you look at AOPD as a quadrilateral, AOPD, is it a quadrilateral? AOPD? Is AOPD a quadrilateral?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How much is this angle? What's the measure of this angle? Here at O, this one, how much is this? How much is this, Sangamitra?
$135, ma'am.
No, no. Is this 90?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Think again, children. How is that 90? Is BP a diagonal? Is BP a diagonal?
No, ma'am.
No. Then do you think AC and BP will intersect at right angles?
No, ma'am.
No, they will not. The diagonals intersect at right angles. AC is a diagonal. BP is not a diagonal. So here the angles formed at O. Here the angles formed at O will be different. The diagonals AC and BD. So see here, if so, the diagonals. See here, I'll draw a line. I'll just draw a line like this. This is the diagonal. This is the diagonal. This is the diagonal. This is all 90. This is all 90. All this is 90. But this one, this is not the diagonal. This one is not a diagonal. This one is not a diagonal. So here the angle need not be 90. In fact, it will not be 90. Because it cannot be 90 here and 90 here also, no? In a triangle, in one triangle, you can see it here. I'll not explain much. I'll just show you. I'll just draw that for you. You'll understand. See here, diagonal, diagonal, diagonal. Okay, so 90, 90, 90, 90, 90. This is correct. This is correct. Now, there is a line segment like this, which is not a diagonal. This is not a diagonal. PS is not a diagonal. The angle here cannot be 90. This angle cannot be 90. This cannot be 90. This cannot be 90. All these places cannot be 90. Okay, so here it's not possible. Okay, so it's so according to me, it's not possible to find the measure of angle x. So we should have been given some other. We should have one other information. So maybe this angle should be given to us. So say this is given to be some 120 degrees. Just for example, for 120 degrees. So then it is possible to find, or maybe this angle, one of these angles must be given to us. One of these angles. Then you can say vertically opposite. See, we are going to find x using the quadrilateral AOPD. We're going to find x using the quadrilateral AOPD. Wherein we know this angle at A is 45, the angle at D is 90, the angle at P is x, which we have to find. And this angle, we should know this angle because we're going to use the property that the sum of the angles of a quadrilateral is equal to 360 degrees. 45 plus 90 plus x plus that angle which should have been given. Vertically opposite. So if this is 120, then this is 120. Vertically opposite angles are equal. This will be 120. So one of these angles here, one of these angles should be given so that we find this angle. Or you can, if this was given, you can find this using linear pair. If supposing this was given to be 60 degrees, if this was not given, then you will find this using linear pair. Linear pair, you can find this is 120. So 45 plus 120 plus x plus 90 is equal to 360. So my intention was to tell you not to get deceived when you know there's one diagonal and the other is a line segment and not a diagonal. Find x, children. Find x. What's the measure of this angle? What will be the measure of this angle?
100 degrees, ma'am.
This will be 100 degrees. This will be 100 degrees. Correct. What's the measure of this angle?
80 degrees, ma'am.
45. 45 degrees. And what about the measure of this angle? This one? This one? 90 degrees.
90, ma'am.
Yeah. So can we all see the quadrilateral in which we know 3 angles and we have to find the 4th angle x. See, this is the quadrilateral. I'm going on the boundary of the quadrilateral very carefully for you. See? Yeah, this is the quadrilateral. So in the quadrilateral, we know 3 angles, 90, 45, 100. We have to find the 4th angle x. So add everything equal to 360 and find x. So that will be 100 plus 45, 145 plus 90, 235, 360 minus 235. I think that is 125 degrees.
125 degrees.
Yeah, 125. Perfect. So remember when you're asked to find some angle in a square, most angles are defined. Most angles are defined, but we just have to be careful when one line segment is not the diagonal. We might just take it to be the diagonal, so we'll have to be careful there. Okay. Yeah, so we were talking about quadrilaterals where the diagonals bisect the corner angles. Okay. Name the quadrilaterals in which the diagonals bisect at right angles. Name the quadrilaterals in which the diagonals bisect at right angles. Which are the 2 quadrilaterals in which all sides are equal?
Square and rhombus.
Yeah, so in these 2, yeah, in a square and rhombus, the diagonals will bisect at right angles. In a rhombus and square, where all the sides are equal, the diagonals will bisect at right angles. But the difference between a rhombus and a square is that in a rhombus, diagonals are unequal, while in a square, the diagonals are equal. So in a rhombus and in a square, the diagonals bisect at right angles. In a rhombus, diagonals bisect the corner angles. In a square also, the diagonals bisect the corner angles. So let's recall these are about the properties. Let's recall the definitions again. So these are the keywords. All sides equal. All sides equal and right angle. These are the 2 keywords. All right. So, in parallel. So, a quadrilateral in which both the pairs of opposite sides are parallel is a parallelogram. A quadrilateral in which both pairs of opposite sides are parallel is a parallelogram. We're going to define parallelogram, rhombus, rectangle, and square. A quadrilateral in which both the pairs of opposite sides are parallel is a parallelogram. Now a rhombus. A parallelogram in which a rhombus is a parallelogram. A rhombus is a parallelogram. All the properties of parallelogram you will find in a rhombus with some modifications, with some more properties. A rhombus is a parallelogram in which all sides are equal. That's all. What's the definition of a rhombus? A parallelogram in which all sides are equal. A parallelogram in which all the sides are equal is a rhombus. A parallelogram in which one angle is a right angle is a rectangle. A parallelogram in which one angle is a right angle is a rectangle. See, a parallelogram in which one angle is a right angle is a rectangle. So in a parallelogram, when all sides are equal, it's a rhombus. In a parallelogram, when one angle is a right angle, it's a rectangle. If we have both these in a parallelogram, if all sides are equal and one angle is a right angle, in a parallelogram, if all sides are equal and one angle is a right angle, then it's a square. Then it's a square. A parallelogram is a quadrilateral in which both pairs of opposite sides are parallel. A parallelogram in which all sides are equal is a rhombus. A parallelogram in which one angle is a right angle is a rectangle. A parallelogram in which all sides are equal and one angle is a right angle is a square. These are the definitions, and these definitions will help us to prove whatever results is asked in the question, in the exercises. So definitions are very important. Of course, the properties are important, but we'll not be using all the properties to prove. The definitions are sufficient. If you can remember the definitions without any confusion, you can ace all the proofs. All right. Any questions, children? Any questions?
No, ma'am.
All right. So as I was telling you that we are going to open up 2 chapters simultaneously. So we saw the introduction to the chapter quadrilaterals. Now we are going to see the introduction to the chapter volumes and surface areas. So this I want you to write in the class. Open your book. Give the heading volumes and surface areas. And as we understand one by one, I'll give you time to write out all this in the class. All right, children. Now the first solid figure here you can see is a cube. Now imagine you have many squares. You've cut out many squares from a cardboard or say a large piece of paper. You have many squares of the same side, meaning many squares of side, say 5 centimeters. Okay, we'll take that. You have many squares meaning cutouts, paper cutouts of squares. You have paper cutouts of squares, all of side 5 centimeters. Now what you do? You stack up all. Now a square is a plane figure. A square is a plane figure. It's two-dimensional. It has only length and breadth, both equal to 5 centimeters in our case. The thickness is so negligible that you can almost ignore it. It's 2D. No height. Okay. Now you have, as we said, you have many paper cutouts of squares or paper cutouts in the shape of a square of side 5 centimeters. What you do is you stack up the squares. That is, you place them one over the other. You stack them up to a height of 5 centimeters. You stack them up to a height of 5 centimeters. You stack these squares. You arrange the squares one on the above, one above the one over the other, like a tower. You're placing it one. You're stacking it up. I hope you understand the meaning of the word stack. You're stacking it up like how you stack your books in the shelf. So you stack up these square sheets one over the above to a height of 5 centimeters. To a height of 5 centimeters. Now what you see is a solid. Square is a plane figure. While when you stack up these squares of side 5 centimeters to a height of 5 centimeters, what you see in front of you is a solid figure, which is a cube. Because you know that in a cube, the length is equal to the breadth is equal to the height. So the square has a length of 5 centimeters, breadth of 5 centimeters, and you've stacked it up to a height of 5 centimeters. So height is also 5. So if the squares you have are of side 10 centimeters, you must stack them to a height of 10 centimeters. Only then the length will be equal to the breadth will be equal to the height. So if the squares you have with you are of side 3 centimeters, you must stack them up to a height of 3 centimeters. You must place the squares one over the other, one over the other, one over the other till you reach a height of 3 centimeters. Only then the length will be equal to the breadth will be equal to the height, and so the solid obtained will be a cube. Is that fine, children?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So now we say that the cross section. So a cube is a solid obtained by placing many congruent plane figure, some congruent plane figures one over the other. Correct. Now congruent because all the squares are congruent, all same size, right? All the squares, all of side 5 centimeters or 3 centimeters. So when you stack up congruent squares, when you stack up congruent squares, that height is important. You cannot just stack it up and say it's a cube. If the square is of side A units, you must stack it to a height of A units. So basically when you stack up squares, congruent squares, you get a cube. So we say that the area of the cross section, we say that the cross section of a cube is a square. The cross section, that is by arranging many, even if I don't say it is congruent squares only, okay. So by arranging many squares, one over the other, you get this solid which is called a cube. So we say that the cross section of a cube is a square. Is that fine? A cube has a uniform cross section. It has a uniform cross section because identical squares are stacked up. Identical squares are stacked up. So we say that a cube has a uniform cross section, the cross section being a square. Understood, children? Shall I proceed?
Yes,
All right. So how do we define volume? Volume is when area is given some height, it becomes volume. When area is given some height, it becomes volume. It gives us volume. Area is given some height. So area of cross section into height. See the formula there? Volume is equal to area of cross section, and the cross section is a square. Please don't go ahead of me. Please don't go ahead of me because you can see all the contents. Follow what I am saying. Area of the cross, area into height. Volume is area into height. When somebody asks you what is volume, area into height. When area assumes, that is when a plane figure assumes some height, then it becomes volume. It becomes a solid figure. Area of cross section into height. So below that, see here. Volume of a cube, because I've given the heading cube, I've not written of cube here. You can see this is about a cube. So volume is equal to area into height. Area into height. What's the cross section is a square. So what's the area of a square? A square. Into height. What's the height here? The height here is A units. So into A. So A square into A cube cubic units is the volume of a cube. Curved surface area is defined as the perimeter of the cross section into height. And the cross section is a square. We know that the cross section is a square and the perimeter of a square is 4a. The perimeter of a square is 4a. So perimeter of the cross section. The cross section is a square and its perimeter is 4a. So perimeter of cross section into height. Perimeter is 4a into height a, because the height of the cube is a. See here. Into the height. The plane figure does not have a height. Height is the height of the cube. A units. So 4a into a. 4a square units. Area, no, you know, area is expressed in square units and volume is expressed in cubic units. Area is expressed in square units, volume in cubic units. Total surface area. The total surface area will be, so now we know that all this is simple, children, for you. We know that cube has 6 square faces. Area of each face being a square. So if you want to find area of 3 faces of a cube, 3a square. 1 face a square, 2 faces 2a square, 3 faces 3a square. All the faces are identical. All of them, all the faces, it has 6 faces. Lift your geometry box and count. It's a cube, but it's not a cube. But lift it, or if you have a die, you can see that it has 6 square faces. Okay, so a cube has 6 square faces and the area of each face is a square. The area of each face is a square. So if you want to find area of 4 faces, 4a square. 5 faces, 5a square. 6 faces, 6a square. 1 face, a square. So when we say curved surface area, curved surface area, that means it's not including the top and bottom. Not including the top and bottom is curved surface area. Curved surface area is 1, 2, 3 and the front one. I'm putting a tick again. This is back. This is back. This one is front. So this is 1, back 2. This is side. These are side faces. 2 side faces, no? These are the 2 side faces. These 2 are the side faces. This is the back face. This is the front face. This is the top face. This is the top face and this is the bottom face. The 4 side faces, makes the curved surface area. We know you have 4 faces, so 4a square. Total surface area will be the curved surface area plus the area of the top and the area of the bottom. So you can say area of base and area of top. And you know that each one has an area of a square. So 4a square plus a square plus a square, which is 6a square units. Now, supposing you have you have packed a gift in a cubical box. You have packed a gift in a cubical box, and you want to decorate. You're giving it to one of your very closest friend, and you want to really decorate though the gift is very precious inside, you still want to decorate the cubical box with lace along its edges. You want to decorate the edges of the cubicle box with lace, L-A-C-E, lace, all along the edges. How many edges does the cubicle box have? Okay, we don't know. So let's know now. The cubicle box has 12 edges. It has 12 edges. Let me go along the edges. So see here, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 edges on the top. 5, 6, 7, 8. 4 on the top, 4 below. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. An edge is defined as the when 3 faces meet, an edge is formed. You can look, you're sitting in a room. I hope you're not sitting in a terrace. So if you're sitting in a room, just look up and see. Look up and see the edges of the room. How is an edge formed? How is an edge formed? When 2 faces meet, I think I said 3 faces. So let me correct myself. When 2 faces meet, look up and see. When 2 faces meet, an edge is formed. An edge is formed when 2 faces meet. So you want to lace it up all over here. You want to use lace here. You have a lace, say some 1 meter lace you have. So you want to stick it here like this, like this. You want it to look very beautiful from the outside. So all along the 12 edges, you will stick the lace. You will stick the lace, and you're so happy. You're so happy first to have a friend like that. Okay. So it's like this. So the length of all the edges is equal to, each edge has a length of A units. So 12 edges, 12 A units. Each edge has a length of A units. So 12 edges, A plus A plus A plus A plus A, 12A. So the length of the tape needed, supposing you want to stick lace, or you want to fasten the edges with tape, sellotape, say you want to bind up the edges. You want to fasten the edges with sellotape. What will be the length of the tape you need? Will be equal to 12A. 12A units. How 12A? Because 12 edges. 12 edges are there. Each edge has a length of A units. So 12 edges, A plus A plus A, 12 times. So 12A units. 12A units. 12A meaning 12 into A. Length of the diagonal. Length of the diagonal. So you can see here the diagonal. You can see the diagonal from this bottom corner to the opposite top corner. To the opposite top corner is a diagonal. That will be the length of the longest rod that can be placed in a cubical room. That's the length of the longest rod that can be placed in a cubicle room. The length of the diagonal of a cube. The length of the diagonal of a cube is the length of the longest rod that can be placed in a cubicle room. Okay, so what you see in dotted lines is the length of the diagonal. You can see it's marked there, root 3A units. Let's derive that. Root 3A units. The length of the diagonal is root 3A. Root 3A, children. By mistake I said root 3A units. It's not root 3A. It's not like root of 3a like this. It's root 3 a units. A outside the influence of the square root. It's not this. It's not root 3a like this. You can say root 3a. I was not wrong in saying that root 3a is this only. Don't mistake it to be this root 3a. It's not. This is root of 3a. This is root of square root of 3a. So when I say square root 3a is like this, root 3a. Okay, that's the length of the diagonal. So it's basically Pythagoras theorem. It's basically Pythagoras theorem. We know that this is root 2a. I'm not able to see this triangle I've taken. This triangle, this one. This triangle. This one. You can see as I'm doing. Oh my God. All right. This one, please work Pythagoras theorem in your book and you'll find that it's root 3a. Do it for yourself. You know this is root 2a because you know that the length of the diagonal of a square is root 2a. The length of the diagonal of a square. Oh my. Sorry. The length of the diagonal of a square. Yeah. This is root 2a. This is root 2a. So that's what you see here. The bottom face is a square. This is the diagonal, which is root 2a. This is the height of the cube a, and this is the diagonal. This is the diagonal of the square face. This is the diagonal of the square face. This is the diagonal of the cuboid. This is the diagonal of the cuboid, which is a line segment from any bottom corner to the opposite top corner. Diagonal is the line segment joining any bottom corner to its opposite top corner. Opposite top corner. Diagonally opposite top corner. Now when you apply Pythagoras theorem, so this is a right triangle. What you see here is a right triangle. On applying Pythagoras theorem, you will have to do that yourself. It's simple. Root 2a and a. Apply Pythagoras theorem, you will get that the hypotenuse is root 3a units. So the length of the diagonal is root 3a units. Are the formulae clear, children? Class, use the emoji. Raise your hand. Tarun, Chennai, are you there?
Yes, ma'am, I'm there, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Sangamitra, Arav. Sangamitra, Arav, Deepika, Hitesh, Vasudevan, Kanishka. Vasudevan did not text me, I had asked him to do that, but he did not bother to. I told you, I don't remember the reason, but I did tell you. Whether we are friendly or not in the class, we have to be friendly, because we have a relation. Vasudevan, all right, Sangamitra, Arav, Deepika, Hitesh, Vasudevan, Kanishka, Satvika, Shivani, Tarun, Ishwaran, Ananya, Tarun, Pranav. Others are still enjoying Diwali. All right. Please write down this, children, in your book. I'll wait for 5 minutes. You can take a screenshot, but please make a note of this in your book. I'll give you exactly 5 minutes. Start writing. I'll come back in 5 minutes and I'll get back in 5 minutes, children. Yes, children. So this is a cuboid, the next solid figure, cuboid. So here, when you have identical rectangles, So say rectangles of length 5 centimeters and breadth 3 centimeters. You have identical rectangles of length 5 centimeters and breadth 3 centimeters. So you stack them up. You stack up the rectangles to any height, because we know that in a cuboid, the length, breadth, and height may be different. You can stack up these rectangles to any height. Rectangle is a plane figure. Rectangle is a plane figure. You stack up identical rectangles to any height. What you see is a solid, which is called a cuboid. So we say that the uniform cross section of a cuboid is a rectangle. Because a cuboid is a solid obtained by stacking up identical rectangles. You can slice up the cuboid to identical rectangles. You can slice it up. You can make thin slices of identical rectangles. So we say that the uniform cross section of a cuboid is a rectangle. The cross section is a plane figure. When we say cross section, it's a plane figure. For a cube, the cross section is a square. For a cuboid, the cross section is a rectangle. As we define volume, volume is equal to area into height. Volume is equal to area into height. So the cross section is a rectangle, area of the cross section. The cross section of a cuboid is a rectangle, and the area of the rectangle is L into B. Into height of the cuboid, which is H. Volume of the cuboid is equal to area of the cross section into height. Cross section is a rectangle. Its area is L into B. Height of the cuboid, H. So L into B into H. LBH cubic units. Volume, so cubic units. Curved surface area is the perimeter of the cross section into height. Curved surface area is the perimeter of the cross section into height. And the cross section is a rectangle. The perimeter of a rectangle is 2 into L plus B. The perimeter of a rectangle is 2 into L plus B. Into height, into H. Curved surface area, like we defined earlier. For a cube also, that's what we said. Curved surface area is always perimeter of the cross section into height. Area into height is volume. Perimeter into height is cross section, curved surface area, not total surface area, curved surface area. Curved surface area is the area of the 4 walls of a room. Total surface area is area including 4 walls, ceiling and floor. When you have to find the area of 4 walls, there's a cubical room. There is a cubical room. If you want to find the area of the 4 walls, then you're finding the curved surface area. If you want to find the area of the 4 walls and the area of the ceiling and the area of the floor, then it is total surface area. Total surface area. So curved surface area is perimeter of the cross section into height. Perimeter of the cross section into height. Cross section is a rectangle whose perimeter is 2 into L plus B into H. So when you multiply, you get 2H into L plus B. Square units, area, so square units. Total surface area, how do you get the total surface area? To the curved surface area, if you add the area of the base and area of the top, you will get the total surface area. So curved surface area has 4 faces. Area of the base, 1 face, area of the top, another 1 face. So totally 6 faces areas. Totally all the total area of all the 6 faces. So the curved surface area is 2h into L plus B. Area of the base, rectangle. The base is a rectangle. Base is a rectangle. What's the area? L into B. The top is also a rectangle. The top of the cuboid is a rectangle whose area is L into B. So open up the bracket here. 2HL. Open up the bracket here. Two into H into L. 2LH. 2 into H into B. 2BH. Multiply. Open the bracket. L and then so when you multiply, you get 2LH. The first term and the second term is 2BH. Then here LB plus LB is 2LB. Now 2 is common. 2 is common. So 2 out. LB plus BH plus LH. LB plus BH plus LH. This is the total surface area. 2 of LB plus BH plus LH is the total surface area of a cuboid. Total surface area of a cuboid. 2 of LB plus BH plus LH square units. Area, no? So square units. Next, length of the diagonal and length of all the edges. Length of all edges. In the case of cube, all the edges have the same length, A units. So we said A plus A plus A 12 times, so 12 A units. But here the edges have different lengths. See here? The edges. See here? These are the edges along the height. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the edges along the height. So 4H. H plus H plus H plus H, 4H. These are the 4 edges along the length. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 edges along the length and 4 edges along the breadth. 1, 2, 3, 4. And since length, breadth, height all may have different measures, you cannot add everything. 4L, we have 4 edges along the length, 4 edges along the breadth, 4 edges along the height. So it's like L plus L plus L plus L. L are taken 4 times, B taken 4 times, H taken 4 times. So like a cuboid also has 12 edges only. Like a cuboid also has 12 edges. But in a cube, all the edges have the same length, A units. While in a cuboid, we have 4 edges along the length, so 4L. 4 edges along the breadth, 4B. 4 edges along the height, so 4H. So the length of all the edges is 4L plus 4B plus 4H units, or you can take out 4 common and say 4 of L plus B plus H. That's also fine. You can also take 4 common. I have not done that. You can do that. 4 of L plus B plus H units. And then the length of the diagonal. So diagonal is the line segment from one bottom corner to its opposite top corner. You can see that BH is the diagonal. The diagonal of a rectangle is given by the formula root of L square plus B square. The diagonal of a rectangle is given by the formula root of L square plus B square. Rectangle. Use Pythagoras theorem and find this. This is 90 degrees. This is L. This is B. So when you find this one using Pythagoras theorem, you will find that the hypotenuse is root of L square plus B square. Use Pythagoras theorem and do it. this side square plus this side square is equal to the square on this side. Work it in your book. So you'll get AC square, the diagonal square, AC square is equal to AB square, L square plus BC square, B square. So AC is equal to square root of L square plus B square, L square plus B square. Pythagoras theorem, right triangle, Pythagoras theorem, right triangle. So AC square is equal to AB square, that is L square, because AB is L, plus BC square, BC is B, B square. AC square we found, AC is equal to square root of L square plus B square, which means the length of the diagonal of a rectangle is root of L square plus B square. That's what you see here. There's a diagonal of the bottom rectangle. We know that the height of the cuboid is h. We need to find the length of the diagonal. So in this right triangle, the diagonal is the hypotenuse. The diagonal is the hypotenuse. This one is root of L square plus B square, and this one is h. So work Pythagoras theorem and you'll find that the hypotenuse, which is the diagonal here, is root of L square plus B square plus h square. So many units. Please work and get it. You should be able to do it. How we get root of L square plus B square plus h square? That will be the length of the diagonal of the cuboid. Please write down. Please write, children. Done, children? Finish writing, children?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Having understood cube, the formulae under cube and cuboid, this should be easy. Please write down. Read, you should be able to understand it yourself. So when many congruent circles are stacked up, circle is a plane figure. When you stack up many congruent circles to any height, the solid formed is a cylinder, a right circular cylinder. So the cross section, the uniform cross section of a cylinder, of a right circular cylinder, is a circle. When many congruent circles are stacked up to any height, the solid obtained is a right circular cylinder. I'm not explaining this. Please write down. After writing down this, please answer this question. I'm going to show you a cylindrical tumbler. This is a cylindrical tumbler. Cylindrical, okay? It's a cylindrical tumbler. Cylindrical glass tumbler. And you want to paint up this tumbler all over. You have to paint up this tumbler all over. It's a glass tumbler. You need to paint the tumbler all over with red paint. With red paint. I want you to tell me the formula which you will use to find the area to be painted. Area to be painted red. Area to be painted red. Area to be painted red. And write it, you continue writing. Is it 2 pi RH or 2 pi R into R plus H? So what area of the, what is the area that is painted red, children? I want the expression. Now the expression to find the volume is pi R square H. The expression to find the curved surface area is 2 pi RH. Or we say formula to find. What is the formula or what is the expression you would use? What is the general expression you would use to find the area of this tumbler that will be painted red? That is to be painted red. You should identify the surfaces, the different surfaces. When you have to paint the surfaces, okay, where meaning outside only or inside, whatever, either inside or outside. Paint it inside or paint it outside, one of the two. So you should identify the surfaces, and for different surfaces you have different formula or different expressions to find the value. So tell me. if supposing I have to paint only the curved surface area of the tumbler, then what's the formula? No idea? Only the curved surface area of the tumbler. It's a cylindrical tumbler. Fine, we'll take that up in the next class. Maybe you're finding, I don't know if my question is difficult or the formulae regarding the cylinder, you're not still sure about them. Ask me any questions, children. Under this, the different formulae you see under cylinder. Any doubts there?
No doubt.
All right, children. Fine then. So that's it for today's session. I hope you finished writing all these three: cone, cylinder, and cuboid. Next class, what we will do, I don't know whether we'll continue with quadrilaterals or, if we'll continue with volumes and surface area, I don't know. So be prepared with the introduction to both the chapters. You've taken the introduction on quadrilaterals as well as a part of volumes and surface area to this extent. So we may take up numerical versions based on cone, cylinder, cuboid in the next class. Wherein I'll have nothing to say. Only if you understand the formula, everything is in your hands. You understand the formula, then you're going to do it by yourself. Because it's all formula based. Numbers will be provided in the question. You just have to take them in the respective formula, calculate and get the answer. Volumes and surface area is no big deal. It's just based on the formula. If you understand how the formula have been derived, then you're very good to go. All right, children, be prepared with both the introductions for the next class on Wednesday. All right, children, so that's it for today's session. Thank you so much. Any doubts, stay back, else you may leave the call. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, children.
Thank you.